If everything suddenly feels like old problems returning, good. That is not failure. It is the quantum echo. The last reverberation of a station you already turned off, like the ringing of a bell after it has been struck. The sound lingers for a while. But it is not the bell itself. It is residue, and residue has no real power once you recognize it for what it is. Think of it this way. When you change the channel on a radio, the old frequency doesn't vanish instantly. For a few seconds, both signals overlap. The static is loud, the interference confusing, but it doesn't mean you tuned to the wrong station. It means the transition is happening. Right now, your life feels like that static. Old fears, old patterns, old faces, old situations trying to return, not to trap you, but to test if you're really tuned to the new signal. This is the paradox most people miss. The return of old energy is not a sign of regression. It is confirmation that your frequency has shifted so radically that the past no longer fits. The echo is the final exam life gives you before the new reality locks in. It is like the last shadow cast by a setting sun, fading, stretching, but powerless once night truly arrives. Notice how it happens. You feel the same thoughts rise, the same anxieties you swore you buried, the same cycles you thought you broke. But pause, breathe. This is not punishment. This is the universe holding up a mirror and asking, will you respond as the old self or as the new one? For half a minute, don't argue with the echo. Don't fight it. Don't feed it. Simply watch it. Observe it like clouds drifting across a sky that never changes. The echo is noise. Your awareness is the sky. And when you stop struggling with the noise, when you simply sit in the silence behind it, something remarkable happens. The echo weakens. Ask yourself in that silence, how would the version of me who is already free, already complete, already whole respond? That question alone pulls you out of the static. It makes the echo the new self simply is. And as your breath steadies, your pulse slows, and your mind begins to soften, you'll realize the truth you've been waiting for. The echo is proof, not of your weakness, but of your evolution. It is a sign you are standing at the threshold. The storm is not here to destroy you. It is here to verify that you've already crossed into another state of being. Stay with that awareness for a moment. Let it settle. Because once you see the echo for what it truly is, it can no longer control you. It can only fade. And in its fading, you are left with clarity. You have already changed. The echo appears for one reason only, because your old identity is dissolving. And when something dissolves, it does not go quietly. The patterns you carried for years, the doubts that once ruled your mind, the habits that once felt natural, they are reluctant to let go. They cling, not because they are stronger than you, and familiarity always tries to masquerade as safety. This is why when you begin to rise, you suddenly feel pulled back down. Not because you are failing, but because the past is making its last desperate attempt to survive. It is like smoke filling a room after the fire has already gone out. The smoke lingers, but the flame is gone. If you panic, you choke on the smoke. If you stay calm, the smoke clears on its own. You must understand, the echo is not punishment. It is not proof that nothing is changing. It is proof that everything is changing. You would not hear the echo if you had not already tuned to a new signal. It only appears when the old system has been deactivated, but still tries to remind you it once had control. Think of it like the trembling that happens after releasing a heavy weight. The body shakes, not because it is weak, but because it is adjusting to freedom. Your soul trembles too, in the space between identities. The echo is that tremble, the vibration of the old timeline as it collapses. This is why it feels so intense. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the louder the echo can seem, not because it is real, but because your new frequency is pressing against the old one, forcing it to the surface so it can finally dissolve. The echo is friction, and friction means momentum. So, when the doubts return, when the old memories resurface, when the people from your past suddenly knock on your door, remember this: you are not being dragged backward. You are being tested forward. The question is never, "Why is this happening to me?" The question is always, "This is the choice the echo offers you." React as the old self and you recycle the noise. Respond as the new self and you collapse it instantly. Every time you choose alignment over reaction, you weaken the echo. Every time you choose silence over argument, peace over fear, presence over panic, you accelerate your transformation. The echo is here as evidence of your evolution. It is a messenger, not a curse. It is your final exam, and it carries only one question. Are you ready to stop repeating the old story and live the new one? Between who you were and who you are becoming, there is always a corridor, a narrow passageway where two realities overlap. One foot still planted in the old world, the other already reaching into the new. It feels like dissonance. It feels like grief and longing colliding inside your chest. And because no one ever told you what this space really is, but listen carefully. This is not chaos. This is the sacred corridor, the space where the old dissolves and the new is born, the ache in your bones, the heaviness in your chest, the pull between past attachments and future desires. This is the sound of walls breaking inside you. It is proof that you are expanding beyond the room you once lived in. Yes, it feels like mourning. You feel yourself letting go of people, of situations, of habits that no longer fit. And there is a sadness in that. Your old self is saying goodbye, but at the same time, your future self is already whispering. You feel the tug, the strange pull toward a life you cannot yet touch, but can already sense vibrating in your heart. That is why you feel two emotions at once: sorrow and excitement, loss and longing. The mind says something is wrong, but the soul says nothing is wrong. This paradox is not imbalance. It is the signature of transition. It is the sacred sign that the activation has already begun. Like a seed breaking through its shell, the shell cracks, pressure builds, darkness gives way to light. To the seed it must feel like destruction, but in truth it is birth. The discomfort you feel right now is not punishment. It is expansion. It is your soul breaking the shell of your old identity so something greater can emerge. Do not mistake this corridor for limbo. It is not wasted time. It is the most important passage of your life. Here, in this sacred inn, between, you are rewiring, recalibrating, releasing. The old operating system is shutting down. The new one is installing. And yes, it takes energy. Yes, it drains you. But this is the fatigue of metamorphosis. So if you feel restless, If you feel like you're floating in a space where nothing makes sense, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't label it as wrong. Sit in it. Honor it. This corridor is proof you are on the threshold of everything you prayed for. Breathe. Feel the paradox. And know this: the corridor does not last forever. Every step you take with awareness shortens it. Every time you choose to trust the pull of your future, instead of clinging to the comfort of your past, the walls of this passage shift, and the doorway to your new life opens wider. Inside you, two voices are always speaking. One is loud, restless, urgent. It repeats old fears. It warns, it doubts, it analyzes, it demands proof. That is the static. It is the voice of survival. Your ego, trying to keep you in the familiar, because the familiar feels safe even if it hurts. Gentle, clear. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't argue. It simply is. That is the signal, the voice of your future self, the frequency of your soul. It speaks through feelings of expansion, through sudden clarity, through the strange pull towards something you cannot explain, but cannot deny. The conflict you feel is not because you are broken. It is because you are listening to both stations at the same time. One foot in doubt, one foot in destiny, and that split creates exhaustion. The mind calls it confusion, but in truth, it is interference. Think of it like this. When two radio stations overlap, the music, the melody is buried under noise. You strain to hear the right notes, but the static drowns them out. That is what happens when you try to follow intuition while still giving power to fear. The song of your soul is still playing, but the static makes you doubt it's real. Here is the key. Your job is not to fight the static. Fighting it only keeps your power lies in choosing to tune your attention toward the signal, no matter how faint it seems. The more you focus on the subtle harmony beneath the noise, the stronger it grows. The signal doesn't get louder because it changes. It gets louder because you finally start listening. You've already experienced this. Think of the moments that felt like undeniable confirmation, the synchronicities, the repeating signs, the sudden bursts of clarity. Those moments when the noise fell silent and the music came through crystal clear. That wasn't random. That was resonance. That was your future self proving you were on the right frequency. The challenge is not hearing the signal once. The challenge is staying tuned to it when the static returns, because it will return, not to defeat you, but to tempt you back into the old song. But once you learn the difference between static and signal, you can no longer be fooled. The static feels heavy, tight, constrictive. It closes your chest, narrows your vision, makes your body tense. The signal feels light, open, expansive. It calms your breath, softens your body, and makes space in your chest. Your body is the most accurate tuner you have. It will always tell you which station you're tuned to, not with words, but with feeling. Ask yourself, does this thought contract me or expand me? The answer will reveal whether you are listening to noise or to the music of your soul. The moment you recognize the difference, something powerful happens. You realize the static has no authority unless you give it your attention, and once you stop feeding it, the signal emerges steady, constant, undeniable. This is the path of mastery, not eliminating the noise, but learning to focus so completely on the signal that the static becomes irrelevant. Your future is not something you chase. It is not a prize waiting at the end of struggle. It already exists as a complete, fully formed frequency. Right now it is broadcasting, steady, constant, unshaken, like a radio station sending music through the air. You can't see it, but it surrounds you. The secret is resonance. In physics, resonance means when one frequency vibrates and another identical frequency begins to vibrate along with it. Think of a tuning fork. Strike one fork and another nearby will start to sing, even though no one touched it. Why? Because the vibration is contagious. Your future self is one tuning fork. You, here in the present, are the other. The more you generate the same vibration, through feeling, through emotion, through state of being, the more the two forks harmonize. And when they harmonize, something miraculous happens. Time collapses. What was once future begins to bleed into your now. This is why your emotions matter more than your words. You can speak 1,000 affirmations, but if your body trembles with doubt, the forks don't align. The universe does not answer your sentences. It answers your state. So ask yourself, what emotions belong to the version of me who is already free? Gratitude, peace, joy, wholeness. Then begin to feel them now. Not because you're pretending, not because you're forcing, but because those frequencies already exist inside you. You are not creating them. You are remembering them. Each time you choose to embody that feeling, you become a living tuning fork. The future self that once felt far away starts to echo through your cells. Your neural pathways rewire, and the circumstances of your outer life begin to reorganize around this resonance. This is why synchronicities multiply when you're aligned. It isn't magic, it's resonance. The fork has been struck. The signal is being received. The melody of your soul begins to echo through reality itself. Your job is not to eliminate every doubt or silence every fear. Your job is to hold your attention long enough on the signal that your vibration stabilizes. Think of it like tuning an instrument. At first, the sound wavers, the pitch drifts, but the more you listen, the more you adjust, the more steady it becomes. Do not rush this. Resonance builds gradually. Then, suddenly, one day, it feels like nothing is happening. And then the next, the field responds all at once, collapsing, 1,000 small alignments into one undeniable shift. So remember, you do not manifest by forcing the future to arrive. You manifest by becoming so deeply resonant with it that it cannot help but appear. Your mind may understand these truths, but your body is the key that decides whether they become real. You see, the body is not just flesh and bone, it is a living archive. Every cell stores memory, every muscle carries stories. Every nerve remembers the times it felt unsafe. And because of that, your body becomes the antenna that when the body is tense, rigid, and contracted, it cannot receive clearly. The signal of your future self is distorted. The message is scrambled. It's like trying to pick up a delicate broadcast through a rusted, bent antenna. The sound cuts in and out, static overwhelms the song. You want to hear it. But your body isn't calibrated to receive it. This is why manifestation is never just about thought. You can hold a vision in your mind, repeat affirmations, study techniques. But if your body is still vibrating in survival, the old station keeps playing. Because survival is what feels safe to it. Pain may hurt, but at least it's familiar. And so the body clings to what it knows. The work, then, is not to force the body into change, but to convince it that peace is safe, that wholeness is safe, that expansion is safe. Every deep breath you take is a message to your nervous system. You are not in danger. You can relax. You can receive. Inhale slowly, as if you're pulling golden light into your lungs. Let it spread through your chest, your arms, your legs. Then exhale gently, as if releasing smoke that has been trapped for years. Each breath calibrates your antenna. Each release makes the signal clearer. Your body learns by repetition, not by argument. So, the more often you breathe with intention, the more often you soften your jaw, drop your shoulders, open your chest, the more your body begins to associate relaxation with safety. And when safety is restored, reception becomes effortless. Think of it like tuning an old radio. When the antenna is stiff, the sound crackles. But when you gently bend it into alignment, suddenly, the music is crystal clear. Your body works the same way. The more you relax it into trust, the more it becomes a perfect receiver of the signal your future self has been broadcasting all along. This is why the deepest transformations do not feel like effort. They feel like surrender, when your body finally believes that it is safe to expand, safe to feel joy, safe to rest in peace. The signal doesn't just reach you, it anchors in you. The song of your future stops being something you strain to hear. It becomes the background music of your daily life. So remember, your mind may open the door, but your body is the antenna. Treat it not as an obstacle, but as your greatest ally. With every breath, with every release, with every act of presence, you are teaching your body to trust the new frequency. And once it trusts, it never forgets. The resistance you feel inside your body is not your enemy. It is not proof that you are failing. It is simply a messenger. It is the echo of a nervous system trained to believe that contraction is the only way to survive. That tension in your jaw, that weight on your shoulders, that knot in your stomach. Records of every moment your body decided, I must stay small to stay safe. But here is the truth. Fighting resistance only makes it stronger. When you push against a locked door, it pushes back harder. The same is true inside you. When you judge your tension, when you shame your fear, when you force yourself to relax, you confirm the body's belief that it is, and it tightens even more. The only way to dissolve resistance is through presence, not by force, but by love. Imagine the resistance as a frightened child. You would not scream at that child to stop crying. You would not punish it for being afraid. You would hold it. You would reassure it. You would let it know, you are safe now. You can rest. This is how you must meet your own body, with compassion, with patience, with tenderness. Every place that feels tight or heavy is not trying to sabotage you, it is trying to protect you. And the moment you recognize this, something powerful happens. The tension begins to soften. Try it now. Close your eyes if you can. Scan your body. Where is the tightest place? Is it your chest, your throat, your belly? Don't judge it. Don't try to make it disappear. Simply bring your awareness there, like shining a warm light on it. Inhale into that space as if your breath itself were a balm. And as you exhale, imagine the edges of that tension softening. Each time you do this, you are retraining your body. You are teaching it that opening is safe, that expansion will not harm you, that love is a greater protector than fear. And with practice, the resistance that once felt like a prison becomes a doorway. a threshold you step through into freedom. This is why presence is the most radical act you can take, because presence rewrites memory. Every time you breathe into resistance instead of fighting it, your body stores a new record. Peace is safe. Joy is safe. Trust is safe. And those records become the new default frequency you broadcast into the world. So remember, resistance is not a wall. It is a signal, and when you meet it with love, the signal transforms. Fear dissolves into safety. Tension dissolves into trust. And what once felt like the barrier to your future becomes the very path that leads you there. Every breath you take, every time you choose peace instead of panic, gratitude instead of doubt, love instead of fear, you are not just changing your own life. You are strengthening the collective field of humanity. You see, your body is not only an antenna that receives the signal of your future self, it is also every state you embody radiates outward, like ripples across water. When you calm yourself, you calm the space around you. When you choose trust, you unconsciously give permission for others to trust. When you expand, you pull the world forward with you. This is why your transformation matters more than you realize. It is not selfish. Every time you dissolve resistance within yourself, you dissolve resistance in the field. Every time you anchor joy within your chest, you plant a seed of joy in the soil of the collective. Think of this moment now. You are listening, breathing, recalibrating, and yet you are not alone. Right now, across the world, there are others tuning into this same truth. Other souls feeling the same resonance. Other hearts beating with the same pulse. Separate bodies, but one field. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine it. Thousands of points of light across the planet, glowing faintly at first, then brighter as they begin to connect. Every inhale synchronizing, each one saying in their own way, I am ready. I am tuning in. I will not abandon myself again. Can you feel that connection? The warmth in your chest when you think of it is not imagination. It is resonance. It is the invisible thread linking you to countless others who are awakening with you. Together, you form a network of coherence, a global fabric of vibration that makes it easier for each of us to hold the signal steady. This is why your choices matter. When you choose to guard your frequency, when you choose love over reaction, gratitude over scarcity, stillness over chaos, you are not just shaping your own reality, you are strengthening the collective symphony. You are sending out a signal of hope to anyone still lost in the static. So do not think of your journey as small. Do not think of your breath as insignificant. Each moment of alignment is a gift to the world. Each act of presence is a contribution to the awakening of humanity. Remember this, you are never tuning alone. You are one voice in a choir that cannot be silenced. And together, our resonance will rewrite the music of this world. Tuning into the signal is only the first step. The true work, the work that transforms your life completely, is learning how to anchor that signal so it becomes unshakable. Because the world around you will test you. Old patterns will echo. Familiar triggers will rise. And if you are not anchored, you drift back into static. So, how do you anchor a frequency? You embody it. You repeat it. You install it so deeply into your body that it becomes second nature. Think of it like this. The first time you tune into peace, it feels fragile, a quiet moment easily disturbed. But the more you return to it, the stronger it becomes, like carving a path through a forest. At first, the trail is faint, barely visible, but the more you walk it, the clearer it becomes, until one day it is a road you can travel even in the dark. Your job now is to build that road, to practice the frequency until it becomes your default. This is done in simple daily choices. When fear rises, return to the breath. When doubt shouts, return to gratitude. When chaos surrounds you, return to stillness. Every return is another layer of anchoring. Here is the truth. You will not feel perfect every day. You will not stay in alignment every hour. That is not failure. Every challenge is a weight that builds the muscle of your faith. Anchoring is not about never falling. It is about always rising. So make your body the sanctuary of your frequency. Breathe peace into your chest. Speak gratitude into your cells. Move with the posture of someone already whole. The body remembers what you repeat, and the more often you repeat the vibration of your future self, the more your body normalizes it as truth. At first, this takes effort, but over time, it becomes effortless. What once felt like practice becomes presence. What once felt like ritual becomes reality. The frequency stabilizes, the static loses its grip, and you discover something extraordinary. You no longer have to chase alignment. You are alignment. This is the art of anchoring, not a performance, not a technique, but a way of being, a steady flame that does not flicker, even when the winds of life blow around it. So ask yourself now, what daily choices can I make to honor this frequency? What habits, what thoughts, what environments support my new state? Begin to shape your life so it reflects your resonance, because the more your world mirrors your vibration, the easier it becomes to stay anchored in it. And remember, anchoring is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Every breath, every return, every conscious choice becomes another stone in the foundation of your new reality. Even after you anchor the frequency, the echo will return, not once, not twice, but again and again, in subtler ways, as long as your old identity still has fragments to dissolve. And this is not to punish you. This is to confirm your mastery. The echo is clever. At first, it shows up loud, dramatic breakdowns, familiar fears, old cycles crashing back into your awareness. But when you stop feeding those, it softens. Then it tries a different angle. A quieter doubt, a small trigger. A subtle whisper that says, "Are you sure you've changed?" Understand this. Every return of the echo is not regression. It is repetition with a purpose. It is the universe giving you one more chance to prove that you are no longer the same. The echo is not here to destroy you. It is here to ask, will you choose the old story, or will you live the new one? Think of it like shadows. You see them move and you panic, thinking something is chasing you. But when you turn, you realize there is nothing there. Only the leftover outline of what once existed. That is the echo, an outline, a phantom. Powerless once you see it clearly, and here lies your power. The echo fades instantly when you meet it with silence, when you respond not from fear, but from the frequency you now embody. Each time you do this, the echo loses volume. Each time you choose differently, the echo shortens its life. Yes, it will test you. A sudden argument, an unexpected disappointment, a familiar insecurity rising in your chest. But pause, breathe, remember, you are not the old self anymore. You are the observer, not the noise. You are the conductor, not the static. So when the echo knocks, smile at it, whisper, I see you, but I do not belong to you anymore. And then step back into your chosen frequency. Do not feed. Simply observe and return. Over time, the echo weakens until it is nothing but a faint hum in the background. A reminder of a life you once lived, but no longer identify with. And when that moment comes, you realize something extraordinary. The echo was never your enemy. It was your final teacher. It showed up again and again, not to break you, but to reveal to you that you were already unbreakable. So do not resent the echo. Honor it, thank it. Because each time it returned, it carved strength into your soul. Each time it rose, it forced you to choose who you really are. Anchoring your frequency is powerful, but it is only the beginning. Once you feel the new state, once you sense the signal stabilizing, the real question emerges. How do you protect it? How do you walk through a noisy world without being pulled back into static? This is where you become the guardian of your frequency. Being a guardian is not about fighting against everything outside you. It is about choosing what you allow inside. Every conversation you engage in, every thought you entertain, every environment you step into is either feeding your frequency or draining it. And your job is to become radically selective. Say no to what feels heavy, not with anger, but with love. Say, guard your attention the way a king guards his throne. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And your energy is the most valuable treasure you own. This does not mean isolation. It means discernment. You do not have to shut the world out. You simply need to stop giving power to voices that are not aligned with your truth. Protecting your frequency is not a burden. It is a devotion. A devotion to the future you already chose. So when the echo tries to slip back in through a doorway, close it. When the static rises in a conversation, step out of it. When negativity knocks at your chest, breathe and return to resonance. That is guardianship. And with every choice to protect your signal, you prove to yourself, I am the conductor of my reality. Guardianship becomes easier when you create a ritual of return, because no matter how strong you are, no matter how aligned you feel, the noise of the world will always try to pull you off. Center, what keeps you steady, is a daily practice of coming back. This is not about hours of meditation or complicated routines. It is about simple, repeatable acts that recalibrate your body and mind. A conscious breath, a pause before you react, a whispered gratitude before you rise from bed. These small rituals may look ordinary, but they are quantum levers. Each one is a signal to your nervous system. This is my baseline. This is my chosen frequency. And as you repeat them, they carve deep grooves into your reality. Over time, returning to alignment stops feeling like a choice. It becomes who you are. You no longer try to remember the signal. You live inside it. So create your ritual. It does not have to be perfect. It only has to be consistent. A breath, a prayer, a moment of silence, a word of gratitude. Each repetition, and soon, the return will no longer feel like a ritual. It will feel like home. At the highest level, Alignment is not about constant action. It is about stillness. The old self believed it had to force, to strive, to push. But the master knows. The field responds not to force, but to frequency. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of power. It is the quiet confidence of a river that does not rush, yet carves valleys into mountains. When you master stillness, you no longer waste energy chasing. You let reality organize around you. Practice it now. Sit in the silence between your breaths. Feel the pause after you exhale, before the next inhale begins. That pause, that stillness, is where your future self already lives. When you rest in that space, you collapse the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. And in that stillness, something profound happens. The static loses its hold. Because the ego feeds on noise, but the soul thrives in silence. The more you choose stillness, the stronger your resonance becomes. And soon, you realize that nothing external can disturb you. Unless you choose to tune into it, this is mastery, not reacting, not chasing, simply being. And in that being, you did not arrive here by accident, you were called. This message found you because your soul was ready to hear it. And now, the question is no longer whether you will change. The question is whether you will choose to embody the change. The quantum echo will return. The static will rise. But you now know the truth. You know how to recognize it. You know how to anchor the signal. You know how to guard your frequency. And you know that every breath of alignment is not just for you. It is for the collective field that rises with you. So here is your choice. Do you walk away from this video unchanged, letting these words fade like background noise? Or do you declare, right here, right now, that you are ready to step forward into the new frequency? If you feel the resonance in your heart, if you know these words were written for you, I want you to pause and write in the comments, I choose the signal. Not for me, for you. Because that declaration is not an engagement trick. It is an energetic contract. It is the physical anchoring of your decision to no longer abandon yourself. Write it, claim it, let the field see it. Let your future self feel it, and join the countless others around the world who are choosing the same. Together, we are not just changing our lives, we are shifting the frequency of this planet. This is your moment. This is your confirmation. The signal is already inside you. The only thing left is to live it.